Shamps and giggles, history, news, views, and reviews from a black perspective.
Um, we're back. 5-star tribute. Young fella there, Stedman Pearson, is a band of 5 family members, no doubt. And Stedman has passed. You would have seen him in the. If you look at the Let Me Be the One video, you see him in the back with his brother. Presumably it is his brother because it was 5 family members, wasn't it? Dancing in the background. We give to 1985. So if he was 60, I would imagine he was one of the younger ones of the band. I imagine the singer was probably the older one. I could be wrong. But back then, he would have been what? If he was 60, born in 1965. So he'd have been about 20 years old, 18, 19, 20 years old back then, 1985, when they were busting tunes. They have quite a few tunes that they had released back then. Let me be honest. So I mean, we just know them. 5-star, man. That's just wow, 60. You know, wow. It just tells you tomorrow. Let's make it happen. Um, Guys, by the way, our feature conversation. Well, all of our conversation is a big feature, really, because any conversation we have, it leads on, and it's invariably just leads on to something, and to something else. I mean, just like we were talking about Frank Zanu. Look, there you go. It leads on. It leads on. You can see a piece of the what's said in our history. We talk about the educational subnorm that's in our history. That's why the show is just too amazing. That's why they won't let the likes of this be on the BBC, because it's too revealing. Anything we talk about, however simple, it relates back to the history of us coming up in this country in some way, mean, manner, form, or fashion. And of course, they wouldn't want it. We've been lied to. They wouldn't want that to be widespread news. They have it in their little pockets. And obviously the news is coming out. And the more it hits into the consciousness, and that's what it is, the consciousness of the nation. They talk about black people being 1, 2, 3%, but what about mixed race? See, that's a whole nother community that's growing, developing. And mixed race is not just black and white, it's Asian and white, it's Chinese and white, it's Indian and white, it's a whole melting black in it. It's a whole melting pot of everybody, which racism don't exist. It don't. We're just what we are. We are one race, and so there's that underbelly rising up now, and everybody just wants equality and justice, and of course, knowing who you are, why you are, and where you are will help you. Of course, it will help you to get ahead far more so than if you don't know who you are, you don't know where you are, and you don't know why you are who you are. Come on now. That's just a basic. So we're talking about the Commonwealth. Let's just have a look. It's quite interesting. The Commonwealth is 75 nations. Let's see, here we go again in it. So the British royal family, it was on. I don't know if anybody tuned in, by the way. If you happen to tune in, let me know what your thoughts were. But here we are, the British royal family and 53 nations celebrate the Commonwealth 75th year anniversary. Okay, well, what does that even mean? 75th year. So is that telling me that the Commonwealth is 75 years old? Is that telling me that the Commonwealth that was celebrated this week, and we may be able to find a piece of it, 75 years old, and it's now having its 75th. So when the Commonwealth was in its infancy, when the Commonwealth just began 75 years ago, now let's just be real, it's not that long ago, is it? 75 years. Some of our parents are of that age. Why talking about my brother's that age? 75 years of the modern Commonwealth. Okay. So how does that work then? How does that work? I mean, see, it can't be that we're all part of this Commonwealth and we know very, very little about it. But truth of the matter, it can be that as well. Because somewhere along the line we might say,
Speak for yourself.
well, somewhere along the line we might say we don't care. But I mean, what is the Commonwealth? If we're talking about the Commonwealth, it's in its 75th year. What is the Commonwealth? Is it a British thing? What is the Commonwealth? You know that one, Pinky?
The Commonwealth is all. The Commonwealth is all the countries, okay, that come together under one banner.
Wow, it's quite amazing, isn't it? So who's the banner it comes under? Or what is the banner it comes under? Let's have a look. So the Commonwealth is a voluntary, now that's important to know, isn't it? It's a voluntary association of countries that includes the United Kingdoms and many of its former dependencies. The Commonwealth is based on shared values and goals, such as democracy, human rights, and economic development. Well, who's in this Commonwealth? Who are the shared countries? I mean, if you talk about
all the countries of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
You've got and then you have Africa. You have Hawaii. You have
so this
there's
Commonwealth
50 something states, isn't it? 50,
yeah 56
56,
independent
yeah.
and equal countries. Alicia, you
They
hands up.
all have a seat at the table. That's what it really meant in terms of fair trade as well, and the fact that they were colonized. They were countries that were colonized.
Well, all of them.
Under the British. Yeah.
Well, okay. See, so here we are. 30. So it's home 2.7 billion people, includes both advanced economies and developing countries. 33 of our members are small states, including many island nations. Alicia, your hands up. Start the thing.
Put in the chat directly to you that the Commonwealth is or what are former British territories. So they're once part of the British territories,
which was colonized.
Yeah.
Colonized. They were colonized by the British.
So
before they all had their individual what we would call independency, they were probably known as British colonies. Yeah, because even for the Caribbean, because they always want to talk about, the Windrush. When they came, even as the Windrush, they were British citizens coming. This is what people don't tend to forget. They were British citizens coming here. They already had British passports.
You're saying they were part of the colony?
No, they were colonized by the British. So therefore, they were the British
colony.
Yes. Yeah, and they were British. They were British. They had British, particularly for the Caribbean people, when they first arrived or they came here into this country, as they want to say back for the Windrush, they came on British passports. They were more British than the British that were here anyway.
Cassandra makes a point here, valid point. I was thinking the same thing. Because when I said voluntary, see, Sandra says, look, they might be voluntary now. But I doubt they were initially
no, because they were
voluntary.
colonized. That's what we call colonialism.
Yeah. So then that, but listen, if you don't know where you began, you can't understand where you are, much less where you're going. So they took over, they colonized, took over with brute force, and now they've got where they are, and to keep everybody on the boat, no, it's voluntary. You stay here if you want to. It's your choice. Do you see what I mean? That's the brainwashing there, isn't it? They've got you in by force. Now you're in there, taking away everything you had. You pretty much got no choice now. No, it's voluntary. No, you can go out there. It's not looking good for you out there anymore because all your roots have been taken up, innit? Imagine you lived in a forest and all the trees have been cut down. And they're like, no, you can go out there if you want. It's all gone, innit? You just look at it and it's all gone. Or you can stay here. Now they've got this whole development. They've made it, it's all marketing. They've made it look good and comfortable for you. And obviously, you, the main person they colonized, you dead and gone. Now they're talking to your children. Well, so anyway, independent countries are voluntarily participating. Talk English, your hand is up.
Yeah, they're only saying that now countries can join if they want to, can join the Commonwealth. With the most two recent countries being Gabon.
Yeah, wait. Yeah. Gabon and Togo, right?
Togo. But like Cassandra said, it's not, I mean, it's, for me, I look at this as just a marketing ploy for the British Empire. That these are the countries that we conquered and we captured. And now, because we've been forced, our hands been forced to release them into independence, so to speak, we still want to keep them as part of us. So let's create a Commonwealth and make it like a group, like a nice little group that we come together every year and we celebrate this. And it's just, it is what it is. But like Cassandra said, nobody in these territories actually said, yeah, we want to be colonized by you. Come along, take us along and enslave us and take our land and etc.
Check this out, eh? Check it out. I tell you, check it out. I mean, the countries included are vast. It spreads far and wide. And as you can see, the Caribbean and Americas. When they say the Americas, it's not America, That must be Bahamas. The only Americas that I see in here.
Yeah, that's in Americas. The Americas are the Caribbean. That's part of the Americas. And Canada is part of the Americas. That's called the Americas.
Canada, yeah, Canada would be.
Yeah, and the Caribbean, that's the Americas.
Caribbean's not. It says Caribbean and America. So Caribbean is Caribbean.
It will still be classed as the Americas, the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Be specific. We've got US Virgin Islands. That belongs to US, yes.
It's not on here, see? US Virgin, no, this is not, it's not on here.
Yeah, because the US Virgin Islands belong to America.
There you go. So there's a lot involved, but I was interested that in the African countries, of which there was many, Botswana.
Yeah, of course.
Gabon, Gambia, Ghana. Just look at the places that you've heard of all of these in the news. Mozambique, Namibia, Rwanda. Remember the foolish name they gave it, ethnic cleansing. Anyway, I don't want to cuss bad word, but anyway, Rwanda is all included in there. Do you know what I mean? Togo, see, and that's where Britain, they've been doing their foolishness, robbing the country of its natural resources and keeping it for themselves and leaving the country to them impoverished. Seychelles is on there. I'd love to go to the Seychelles, actually. Mauritius is on there. Recently, Mauritius was in the news. Hang on a minute. Mauritius was in the news just recently. Isn't Mauritius one of them? They've got, wasn't it Mauritius they were talking about? Oh, look, Mark's in the building. Come on, Mark. Let me see if you know. Mauritius was in the news. Come on, Mark. Let me see. Mauritius is one of them island there. Military base or something. Anyway, let me see. Mark, talk the things.
I was just going to say, contrary to even my own popular belief, not all of the Commonwealth countries were former colonies. And I was just reading that some were or are realms and some are republics. So there is some symbolism that goes along with this. And it's also about whether the monarch here is head of state and, you know, whoever administers whatever it is. But as we know, there's lies. So for instance, we like to celebrate Jamaican independence. Jamaica ain't independent because they are still the head of state there, you know what I mean? And this carries across a lot of certainly Caribbean countries and probably a fair few African countries. So I don't know which is which specifically, but that is one of the main differences. But of course, the other thing to say is that we can look at some of these places. So a lot of the countries that we look at, we see the flag. So we know the footprints. We can see them straight away. Yeah? We
Right.
have what was called the doctrine of discovery, which goes into the whole papacy, and it was basically the legalized enslavement and taking of land of a lot of these nations or countries. So, for instance, this is why you see in Australia, you find the flag and you also find a similar kind of system. It comes from the doctrine of discovery, yeah? But that's going back into Rome. But the other point I was going to make is it doesn't necessarily mean that there was necessarily enslavement going on, because we can look today and see that there is economic enslavement, quote unquote, which is I kind of think the point that you were making, which is how we impoverish nations. We do it economically. We crash the economy. We strengthen ours over theirs. So there's this whole exchange rate thing that goes on. Yeah. We've watched Jamaica, for instance. What is it now? I don't even know. How much hundreds to the dollar, to a
250 at
pound
least.
even.
Yeah,
Yeah.
250
It's
at
mad.
least. Yeah.
So these systems that they put in place is another way of basically enslaving these nations. So yeah.
And you know what? It's changed how they enslave, because I knew Mauritius was in the news recently, and so there was a treaty. See, back in the days, in the early days when they used to colonize a country, they just rob you of everything. They just rob you of everything. But here, Britain has a treaty with Mauritius by the Treaty of Paris from 1814. It was renamed Mauritius and ceded to Britain because it was previously Isle of France. And along with Rodriguez and the Seychelles. And the British in this act guaranteed that they would respect the languages, the customs, the laws, and the traditions of the inhabitants. Well, that's a change from what they were doing in the 15 and the 1600s, right? So the colonization, how they colonize countries, and of course, all this stuff anybody can Google. It's there on Google. Yeah. Yeah. So they guarantee they respected the language. So obviously, if you go to Mauritius now, they're still speaking French. In fact, they speak broken French as well. They got their patois, and I assume at this point, English would be a part of the language. But one of the more important things about Mauritius, which is interesting. So now we're the Commonwealth, voluntary, right? So they want to keep us under the status of the British. It was the British Commonwealth back in the day. I'm sure I'm not mistaken. It was them. But now they want to say it's an all-inclusive, voluntary thing that everybody come in. And there we go. Look, Supreme Mauritius had independence. Yeah. But there's a UK military base in Mauritius. So if we're all volunteers now, That mean that their military base don't belong to England again.
Right. Well, let me just add this point, and we will all should know this. We've been looking at Niger, Burkina Faso, yeah,
Right,
and Mali, right? The
right.
French have had, and I can't remember how long, they've been running. It's been their, not only their country, it's a francophone country, but it's the economy.
Yeah,
They use the franc, yeah,
right.
as their money, which benefits France, which is the same as, yeah. So some of them are like get out, yeah, but it's the same as the dollar. We called it the free dollar because if you think about it, the US can be in debt all it wants, but
Mm.
because it is the reserve currency, so everything like oil, commodities, gold that they use the dollar, yeah, to
Mm.
buy and sell these things. What we basically do is we empower the US through
Of course.
currency. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So this is one of the things that we probably don't really think about a lot. It comes back to this question, but we might not say it's enslavement, but in another way, we are bolstering these economies to then do what they will with us. You know what I mean? But
Yes.
what, thankfully, we've got the youngers coming up in these countries I just named who see this and like, you know what, we're done with this. But because the French have had it their way for so long, they can play with words now. Oh, free this and Commonwealth that, and it's all good and that. It's all a play. It's all a ploy. You know what I mean? It's for us to look past that.
That's right. It's words, isn't it? Words are
Yeah,
powerful. Words will direct. It's like the rudder of a ship. Your words are like the rudder of a ship. They'll direct you along the
absolutely.
path to which you're
Well, the
going.
thing about it is that they can't exploit no more, and that's what FASO is about. No
Yeah.
more exploitation. Kick
There
their
it's
butts out,
right.
the French, for too long, the gold, the diamonds, yeah. No, not no more. You lot are out, OTT, and we don't
Eh,
need your aid. That's what he's showing. And hopefully that will catch on. Just like Maya said, Maya's even thinking now of revoking passports, American passports. And she can, because we are independent, Barbados. Totally.
Okay.
Just like
Okay.
that.
I'm gonna joke a pin on that. Maya Motley.
Jump in.
Um,
I
hold
need
on.
to jump in.
Go on then. Your hands up, Jeremy. Talk the
As
takes.
much as we're independent, Pinky, and there's a few other countries that are independent, we are still financially tied to some of these Western powers, yeah? And we, as a people, we also buy into keeping our countries down by going on holiday to Jamaica and staying in the REU, as opposed to staying at Missa Smith Yard round the back there, so. Yeah?
Yeah.
Because when we
This.
go and stay in the REU, yeah, when we go and stay in the REU, we have to use US dollars.
Right.
Yeah, well,
Right.
Yeah?
Now.
in comparison, you can't compare us to Jamaica.
No, it's not. It's not a
No,
comparison. Hold on a
There's no
minute.
it's
Hold
the
on. We're
comparison.
gonna
same
have to
thing.
hand
It's
There's
the
hand.
same
no
thing, Pinky,
comparison in terms
because
of
Yeah. Hold
what
on.
Barbados,
Wait.
Barbados has a financial deal, and you know this anyway, with America that $2 billion equals $1 American, yeah, which makes our currency very, very high, yeah.
Right.
However, if they take away that deal, I mean, it's not going to be as bad as Jamaica, but you're going to get $50 or $60 to the pound. I
To
mean,
the Asian dollars.
Canadian dollars to the American dollar. Yeah.
Right.
So differently, we're all tied to America. This is why Mr. Big Ed, Donald Trump, is sending threatening messages to the Caribbean, because where they're supposed to give us aid, yeah, give us back money that they already took from us, yeah, they're not doing it. But China is now coming in, yeah. China's giving loads of money, but what a lot of the countries don't recognize is that China's money comes with low interests. But if you can't pay back, we take what we build and we control what we build.
But they're
And
doing that already. Done that in
there you
Jamaica.
go. But that's
Hold on.
that's the
We
deal
got
they're
to
trying
keep
to give.
hands going, Pinky. I got to come back to your point. But with all this, see, Mark's point was when he was talking about the dollar
when he's
and
talking
how they
about, we're
use.
talking about AIDS,
Yeah,
giving
but
that.
that's my point. You've moved
If
the
you cut
conversation
that,
along. Hold on, the conversation's moved along without me first giving credit to Mark. Then Jemmy's come in and commented, and then you've come in and commented. So there's a lot of commenting. So we have to give credit to each one's comment, isn't it? So what you said about my Motley is valid. So Mark was saying about the dollar and how the dollar, by us buying into the dollar or using the dollar, we're empowering the US and disempowering. So when you go to Jamaica and you have to buy everything in dollars, US dollars, over the Jamaican dollar, we are empowering the US and we are disempowering Jamaica.
100%.
And then we're laughing. Oh, it's 1 to 250. The Jamaican dollar week. But whose fault is it? It's because of what we're doing and what we're allowing to happen. We're allowing them to take us over financially. And it's all a brainwashing. Of course it is. It comes from up the stream, where the marketing that they're putting across, right? The stigma that they put across makes you not want to have the Jamaican dollar, right? But want to have the American dollar because, oh, it's more valuable if this is. And all the time we have that mindset, of course, what we have and what we own then disappears because we become indebted to the financial master then. And that's where then all this other conversation comes from. Maya Motley, could she, like you're saying, Pinky, could she withdraw and be fully independent? And then that's where Jamie comes in talking about the Beijing dollars.
We are fully independent.
Agreement.
We are fully independent.
No, hold on, wait. Though what Jamie just said is
like
real.
Ghana. We've come out of that.
Hold on. So if you was independent, what are you using in Barbados? Are we using the Bajan dollar or the US dollar?
We're using Bajan dollar. We use the Bajan dollar.
Pinky.
We use Bajan dollar.
Local Bajan use the Bajan dollar.
We use Bajan dollar. The dollar is Bajan.
Yes, and so is the US dollar.
And the US dollar, listen, let me tell you something.
Most people,
listen, hey, the US dollar ain't really nothing in comparison to our dollar. I mean, it's what? How much is it for the US dollar?
What are you talking about, darling?
Barbados. For one Barbados. How much is
Pinky,
it?
the only reason.
I'm asking how much it is. People go down.
$2, two Bajan dollars equals $1 US dollar.
You can have American dollars here and spend American money here.
They wouldn't allow you. You go to the shop with American dollar. They say they don't want it.
I've to the shop. Well, it ain't because it ain't valued at this present moment. It ain't saying.
You can go to certain
yeah, because it ain't saying nothing. But you can still take it into the bank and get your exchange. So it's just like in the Caribbean. It's just like in Barbados. You can store whatever and take it and get your
you have
money.
to understand how this
what
money
I'm actually
works.
saying is, for me, what I'm actually saying is.
Okay. Go on. This is your hand up, Pinky. We'll hear what you have to say.
When we talk about the aid, what aid coming out of where? From Britain. Who's got aid coming out of Britain? What aid?
Britain sends aid everywhere. What are you talking
about? What aid? What aid? What aid coming out of Britain?
Britain sends aid everywhere. But that's not about the dollar. You change the subject. On the dollar, the Bajan dollar is 2 point. Here we are. You can easily Google it. 1 United States dollar equals.
Yeah, check it to everybody else's. We're all right. We're doing all right in Barbados. Just leave us alone.
No, hold on. You just
Pinky, you're not making sense.
And she can, and Maya can do anything she wants to do. So if she decides that she wants to evoke the American people's passport in Barbados, yes, she can. And why she's doing that is because she's supporting the rest of the Caribbean country, which is Cuba, and what they're doing. Because like she said, if it wasn't for Cuba, you lot would have never get through. They would have never get through COVID. We went through COVID by ourselves. When we was asking the British to help or whatever, they were not interested. Listen, let me tell you about Barbados. You better know something about Barbados. We are one resilient set of people, okay? In Barbados. Yes, we is resilient. There's no Caribbean that is resilient like us.
Okay. Hands are going up.
Little Barbados. We're resilient and we are Talawa. So let me tell you something about. Yeah,
hang on, hold on, wait a minute.
Let her talk. Go.
She's actually showing that now. And what we're about is what we call Pan-Africanism. Okay, that is the Caribbean, right? And the diaspora of the Caribbean itself being united. That's what she's about, and that's what she's saying. Just like how Trump has said, we must say, we can say what we want to say. Because here's something about Barbados. A lot of you, the way that where we are situated in the Caribbean Sea, nobody, when it comes, this is why we have always been a country that says we are friends of everybody and allies of none. Okay, because of our situation when it comes to war.
Well, war is always a factor. Okay, thank you very much for your conversation. Sister D, a new hand. Let me hear what you have to say.
Come on, man.
Sister D, hand is up.
Right. Hey guys, it's Naomi here on my mom's behalf, but I just wanted to chime in and basically say, like, when it comes to the dollar, the Bayesian dollar, I think you lot were discussing, is probably hedged against the US dollar. So because it's hedged against the US dollar, then it will then filter back into the US economy. And I think that's what people are missing to touch on. The same with the Jamaican dollar. All of the dollars are hedged against the US dollar. And because of that, it affects their economy. And even in the countries, so even if they do take the Bayesian dollar or the Jamaican dollar, they're more likely to accept the US dollar as well because they are hedged against one another. Exactly. So it's just easier to trade with those two currencies. So in actuality, because it's easier to trade with the US dollar, when it gets back to the US, obviously they trade internationally in other countries as well. So maybe like China or like just worldwide, to be honest. So in Africa, like all over the world. So that's basically how it works. Just in case.
My little niece that.
Yeah. Excellent. Can I just throw in?
Thank you, Nami. Mark, go on, your hands up.
So the lady, your niece?
My niece, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the point that we're making. To dig further into the whole economics, what we're not talking about is import and export. We're not talking about GDP, and infrastructure of these nations. I respect actually Barbados and what they're doing and what I've seen from, I think it's the Prime Minister, this lady. Yeah, she's on point. Yeah, she's on point. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when we also have to dig into the financial, the fiscal, you know what I mean, these kind of things. And I'm not saying nothing negative against them. I'm just saying if we're trying to really have the conversation, we need to look at all of these other factors. Buying goods. People are talking a lot about BRICS. One of the issues with BRICS, and let's say we're talking about the elite and those people who are instrumental in the formation of BRICS, is they have assets which are numerated in dollars. This disempowers them until they can come with a system that can trounce dollars. I talked about the reserve currency, and your niece just talked about that being pegged against the dollar. This is a very important thing to understand. So BRICS won't fly unless it can trounce the dollar in that sense and become what is a reserve currency. You know what I mean? Where it's traded. They're talking about backing it against gold. Cool. That's probably going to be the thing that needs to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But until that step is made, you can't ramp with the dollar because the dollar is king. And even we can look at the 8 majors. The USD is number one. We can look at the pairs, dollar pairs. Euro dollar is the greatest. Next is euro yen. Yeah. So it tells you something about the power of the dollar. Yeah. And it tells you something about when the dollar goes down, what happens? When the dollar goes up, what happens? How does it affect commodities? You know what I mean? And so all of these things.
What you buy in the shop is,
exactly. You know what I mean? So all of these things feed into this conversation. Yeah. As much as we like to say, well, you know, we're independent and blah, blah. Cool. Politically, maybe. Yeah. But we still have to look at the economics and who is borrowing from who. Who is we ain't talked about an IMF yet. We ain't talked about World Bank yet. Yeah. We ain't talked about them debts there yet. You know what I'm saying? And someone remarked, it might have been you or Jemmy talked about China and all them things there. We're going to give you a road, but we're going to take a port.
True. And everybody
So,
bought debt. Look at
yeah,
you. Look at England's debt. Look how much England
Hold
owes.
on, Pinky.
Nah,
Let's
that can't
let's keep
work.
with the hands. Let's keep with the hands. Let's keep with the hands. Let's keep with the hands. Hands up. Yeah. So what you're saying there, Mark? Spot on. BRICS, by the way. We have to have, what is the acronym for BRICS? I was trying to look it up. I know it is, but I wasn't seeing it. It's
Brazil,
BRICS.
Russia, India, China, South Africa.
There you
And
go.
then you've got BRICS Plus. So there's a lot of countries that have joined onto that, a lot of Middle Eastern
Right.
countries, etc.
Right. And now that poses a threat to the US dollar. And anyone can Google it. BRICS expansion into payment system poses threat to dominance of the US dollar. So the US dollar, as we're talking on this point, when you're buying with US dollar, remember, a piece of that money goes to America. Anytime you use a pound, that money somehow filters its way back here. So if you use the Bayesian dollar, that money then filters back to Barbados, or same like with Jamaica. So if we're not aware of this, we're giving away, which is what's happened in Jamaica. The currency is now 156. Anybody can Google it. It's 156 Jamaican dollars to one United States dollar. 150. So to the pound, that's like 200. Yeah. So when in Jamaica, and it's been happening over years, they're using the US dollar instead of the Jamaican dollar. They're just giving away their wealth. So eventually Jamaica's going to be owned by America. But or if China comes in, and next thing you know, you go to Jamaica and they're taking yens. China's going to own Jamaica. Come in, find the hole, start the things.
So let's go back a step and let's talk about independence and Barbados. Pinky, me love Barbados as much as you do, but I have to stay realistic with the facts. And let's just talk about the whole wider Caribbean, the whole of it put together. They don't bother neither Europe, America, Russia, because they're too small. Their economic structure is not big enough to do jack, in essence. Yeah, I love my country, and hear what? Yeah, if we're doing so fine, why is our country the third most expensive place in the world to visit? Barbados. That doesn't say that our economy is firing good and things are good. That says that things are bad. Yeah, Barbados is the third most expensive place in the world to visit. Barbados.
That's a
Motley,
whole other topic.
I love the way that she is and the way how she wants to do stuff. Yeah, but if the pressure is applied, Barbados is so tiny. They could look. They already invaded Grenada for some stupid reason. What do you think if they were to invade Barbados? How long would it take? 16 minutes. Barbados don't have nothing. We can't fight nobody.
Actually, they didn't. Actually, hang on a minute, please. They did not invade Grenada for some stupid reason.
Well,
Go and
whatever
look
the
at
reason
history.
was.
It was for the same man, Bishop.
America, hold up,
Look
Pinky.
at the thing.
Not your time.
Hold on, Pinky. We're going to come to that. Hold on, Pinky. We'll come to that.
Not your time. Yeah.
So you'll be next. Hands up. Yeah. Let's keep to the hands up.
The whole Caribbean is run by that US dollar. The whole Caribbean. Yeah. Because like we said, everything is hedged to the dollar. It don't matter what you do, you are giving it to America. Now, Jamaica will feel this more than Barbados would. But if Donald Trump says, and they've tried it already, don't go to Jamaica, to the Americans, Jamaica's in problem. Because spring break, Jamaica, the Bahamas, them place, they live off of spring break. The 2 spring breaks that the Americans have. That is an integral part of their economy. They do come to Barbados, but not so many. So we can get away with it, yeah? Motley is in a higher state in standards right now, apparently, and I'm saying that in inverted commas, than the Jamaican president, but it's only because of the deals that's been made, yeah? None of the West Indies, the Caribbean, ain't got no power to do nothing, yeah? Look, Jamaica found oil the other day. Do they have the money to take the oil out the ground themselves? No, they have to go get somebody else to take out their oil who's going to charge them to do so, yeah? And as far as independence, no country is independent and still in the bloody Commonwealth. Excuse my French, yeah? Because a Commonwealth is a system that conquerors made, yes? We are the commoners with the wealth and them take it. That's Commonwealth as far as I'm concerned. If you're part of the Commonwealth, you're not independent, yeah? There's independence and there's independence. And Barbados, as much as they would like to be, they are not fully independent, yeah? Because who's the head of state? It's Motley, yeah? But guess who they still refer to? England. Yeah, trust me. Yeah, I love Barbados as much as you, but we have to face reality sometimes. I mean, done this off, you know.
I'd like to see what the Barbados dollar looks like. Is it the Queen's head on or the King's head on there, or is it my Motley's head on the Bayesian dollar? That's an interesting. Now, Pinky, your time now. Grenada was invaded by the US in 1983. So, Pinky, come in, your time. Oh, whose head is that on the dollar? Me no know him.
I was just asking. Jemmy said for some stupid reason, and I was trying to say to you, it was not for a stupid reason. It was because you had militant people like Bishop who were actually saying things like, you know, about, you know, having things like a Caribbean union where certain people were not involved, and this is why the Americans went in. Okay,
well, hold on.
Was to out him.
So he was talking about uniting the diaspora, and America came along and said, "Hey, you're not doing that." Is that what you said?
Well, basically, he was militant.
Yeah, but hold on, wait. That's a bit like Ibrahim's what's his name, Traore.
Yes, and Ibrahim Touring, and same like Ibrahim Touring, his views is based on who? Who is his views based on? Again, another great African leader who they killed. So that's
right.
who has, and also Dr. Akwi Powell. Is another woman wherein, I mean, there's a group of, you know, when people talk, they talk like, we're constantly under these people, and we constantly can't do nothing. We constantly can't stand by ourselves. And that's the problem when we've got such negative and low thinking.
Wait, no, hold on. It's not negative.
Because this is what it is. Because this is the fight all the time. That's the fight all the time.
So hold on, listen to what you said. Black man tries to unite the diaspora, and America comes in and invades Grenada as a result. Did I misread?
That's what it was. Yeah, that's why.
So, and now black man. And black man is the fool.
Who?
Who's the fool? Black man.
No, I didn't say that.
America then.
I didn't say that at all.
Well, Jemmy said it. He said America come with their foolishness and invade Jamaica, and you said Grenada, and you said it wasn't foolishness. And then
no, it wasn't. It was because of the fact that they went after a man called Bishop.
I don't recall the Grenadian government sending any request to America to come to their country and take somebody out. I don't remember hearing that.
No,
never.
Jemmy, wait. We're trying to unravel this. The bishop was trying to unite the Caribbean nations. America comes along,
and he wanted to cut ties. He wanted all ties cut. Yeah,
that's our point. Everybody's doing that now, and America comes along.
Hang on, I'm gonna
because this man wanted to cut ties and to unite the Caribbean. America says none of that, and they invade.
Well, yeah. Little Grenada, yeah.
But that's a
called an invasion, Pinky.
That's a level of foolishness which is very, very high, and it says that you're still enslaved.
Well, who for? For America?
No, for Grenada, you're still enslaved. We own you. Don't even think about joining forces with anybody else. I'm thinking any other foolishness. We own you. You'll be ours, and you're going to stay ours. And we're going to send the military so that you know that we know that you know that you're not going to step out of line.
Can I just add something to this?
Come in, Mark.
Because this is exactly the situation with Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger.
Yeah.
And you know, and people are talking about coup and how them run coup and how they're militant and rare. And all it is they're saying, listen, we want our independence. We want genuine independence. Now I'm going to give you a statistic. Since 1776, right? The US is 249 years old since its declared independence. It's
Right.
been at war for about 220.
Dark it.
It has 800 military bases thereabouts around the globe. There is
Right.
no more militant power. I don't know what word you want to use than the US. So what we're talking about here is not even comparative. We can't compare like a suggestion that a sovereign nation is making, yeah, to say they're going to cut ties from what, the West, the US. Like there's something wrong with this, and this is one of the things that I think is, we're conditioned to kind of look at this as a negative. Oh, there's a coup, it's military. Hold on a minute. Like right now, what's the talk that's going on in Ukraine? I'm not trying to even divert, and also what's going on in Israel. Again, this is the US. The US is all over it. You know what I mean? This is not this. What's the word to use? Yeah, this
They're
is
power
not.
hungry.
Yeah, right. This is the hegemony. Yeah, has to be unseated. Yeah, and so to me, and I'm pretty sure to everyone here, right? This is illogical that we would say, nah, that was bad for them to make that suggestion. This guy, where was he? Barbados,
Bishop.
whoever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, to
Bishop,
even
yeah.
suggest independence. We can look down the road at Sankara. We look at Lumumba. We can look at all of these luminaries, yeah, who only said we want independence for our country, yeah, and they were murdered. That's what we're talking about.
See it there. See
You
it
know what I
there.
mean?
Yeah.
So, nah. As I
That's
say,
it, right?
yeah.
And so I think it was Morris Bishop, the bishop that you're referring to, Pink. It was Morris Bishop.
That's
That's
right.
the only bishop that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Bishop.
A Grenadian revolutionary.
Yeah,
He
that's
wanted
what it was.
independence for his country, and America comes on and says none of that.
No,
So who we applauding? Are we applauding Morris or are we applauding America?
we're certainly applauding Morris.
Okay,
You're damn
so
right we're applauding Morris.
therefore
He was
America
a
did
very,
come.
in every way, fashion, and form,
Right.
we were supporting him.
Yes.
Definitely.
Therefore, America came with their foolishness.
Yeah, but
Which is
like
what
they
Demi
do,
was saying. So I'm glad we cleared
always
up the mix
pushing
up.
their nose in other people's business
There you
and
go.
causing nothing but trouble
And
in
my hand
people's
is up, and I'm going to
country.
speak it because it has
Okay,
clarified
and
what
that's
I
how
said.
we've got war. And the difference here now with Trump is hopefully he really wants peace.
Trump. Okay.
Because everybody wanna push that button, but none of them ain't got no nuclear weapon. At least
Here we
I
go.
get it.
My hand is up.
Oh, the letter finish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go on,
So
Jeremy.
Morris, we're not going to go into Trump because that's a whole.
No, I was just saying in terms of like, what America do, what they do, what Britain does as well. They're all a part of it too. What Europe has done, for many years. It's time now. Listen, what I'm trying to say is the tide has to change. Okay. And what you don't understand, I hear what you all are saying about the economics and the GPS and this, that, and the other. But I'm telling you about something more stronger than that. And I'm telling you, the tide is changing. It is shifting. You've got to understand a big shift is coming. Right.
Change is happening right now. Jeremy, you got your hand up.
Change is happening right now underneath your nose.
Right
so
here in
when
front.
we're saying that you cannot be independent, you cannot be this from that person, you have to have their aid. No, you don't. No, you don't. Start crafting for yourself. Because nobody would have thought that Africa could produce rice. Huh?
No.
Nobody would have thought. Yeah, because it's always the Chinese that you have to go and get your rice from.
No.
We ain't got to have.
Okay. No.
Well, Faso is producing rice.
He's doing an amazing job.
He's doing an amazing job. So if he can produce rice, this is the flow. This is the thinking. If he can produce rice, anywhere that have soil can produce rice.
That's quite interesting, actually. That's quite interesting. But okay, thank you, Figgy. Appreciate the comments there. Fire in the hole, talk the things. There's so much to discuss. So Bishop was the thing. Go on.
First and foremost, thank you, Pinky, for acknowledging what I said, because America went in there for foolishness. Yes, they did not go in there at the behest, or for those who don't understand the word, the invitation of the Grenadian government to remove this man. They went in there because they are bad men who run things, so to speak. Yes, the American government spent $820 billion on war and military stuff last year. That is a bigger amount of money than the whole of the Caribbean uses in about 10 years. Yeah, understand the size of this thing. The man said it. America has over 800 bases across the world. Yes, when it comes to war and these things, these are the experts. Yes, and if you know how to fight, then you must learn and know how to deal with economics. Yeah, and logistics. Yes, it's a whole package. America's got this thing down pat. Yes, the next world war will not be fought in Africa. It might be fought in the Caribbean, because we've got two big countries pushing, and they're both out there to grab what they can get. Yes, America is saying they want to be in control of the Caribbean because it's strategically
based.
I don't know how many more bases they need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I ain't got a clue, because like the man said, they got them everywhere. Everywhere you can think of's got an American war base. Everywhere you can think of. Yeah, in the Western world. Yeah, and they've encroached as far as they can possibly in other places in the world, which is not the West. Yeah, but you go to Bali, they got air base in Bali.
Yeah, anywhere around the world.
Only place they ain't got air base is in Barbados. Cause we're not air free like that for them to put it on. Yeah, and you need to understand the power. That's why Britain has to suck up to America, because Britain ain't got nothing. They got more than Barbados, yeah, but the British army is minuscule compared to the German army or the Russian army or the Ukrainian army. British army they got 5 ships.
They got nothing.
20 planes.
Yeah, well, they do. Well, actually, that's where you're wrong. So that's why they call it the Commonwealth as well. So that's another thing you need to understand.
Commonwealth ain't got nothing to do with one army.
Let's go back to
yeah. You're talking two different things. The Commonwealth.
Pinky, you be next. You're next. Let Jimmy finish.
When we talk about war and army, I have to talk about America, Russia, and NATO. Yeah, the North Atlantic PC or whatever the acronym stands for. Yeah,
North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
Thank you very much. Yes. Yes, you know I'm into space. If you're into space, you have to be into war, because war created the space race, yeah, back in the 1940s, yeah. So I understand military history because I read a lot about military history every day, yeah. So if you don't understand how the military system works around the world, yeah, America's got a air base in a place called Guam, in the middle of the ocean. There's nothing around it for about 100 years. Diego Garcia, I think it's called. One little tiny island. They got a base there because it's of national security. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't ramp with America. They know exactly what they're doing. Yes. People have said it before me. That money, that dollar is everywhere. Yeah. You can take an American dollar. Where you can't spend a pound, you can spend an American dollar. Trust me on that.
Oh, for sure. So back to Maurice Bishop just a little bit. Maurice Bishop was assassinated, by the way, yeah, as leader of Grenada, forged close links with Cuba. Of course, America didn't like that because they had ostracized Cuba, and signed a weapons treaty with the USSR, Russia. America was not happy with that, so that's why the big tanks of America rolled up on Grenada. I mean, come on now. And everybody's like, what?
That's why Cuba's embargoed, because Cuba wants to be friends with Russia.
Correct.
So Cuba's too close to American soil.
And then the irony of that is Cuba's too close to American soil, so America don't want no Russia involvement. And then over there in Ukraine, where America's trying to have involvement, Russia's like, no, you're too close to us. We don't want no American involvement, NATO coming.
100%. 100%.
But of course, unless you're reading between the lines, you're not going to see that. And you think Ukraine, just happened. None of it just happened. All of this has history.
Exactly,
involved.
because the Ukraine was had the fourth biggest nuclear arsenal. Yes.
Yeah, gave it up.
To join and to come close to NATO. Yes, Russia said you must give up your weapons first. Russia set them up. Putin said 20 years ago or 15 years ago, I am going to take back Ukraine and Crimea, and he done Crimea already. Yeah, he's on to Ukraine.
Yeah, so let me add a little colour to that one there, right? So when you go back to, I think it was the Second World War and before, you have Crimea was a base. It was used by the Russian Black Fleet. The argument over Crimea to say that it is Ukrainian is because it's south of Ukraine. But the Russians fought the Ottoman Empire for that land, for that island, yeah? And they had a fleet stationed there in the Second World War and fought the Nazis, yeah? Now, there's a whole other backstory, as you said. There's a history to this that people don't want to talk about. This whole thing that's going on with NATO right now is eons old, you know what I mean? And they were promised by a guy called Baker. He was one. Bush was another one, Bush Sheena, not an inch eastward, not an inch closer to our territory. Remember, the US is partly responsible for the crashing of the Soviet Union in 1991. So those nukes were Russian nukes. They weren't Ukrainian, they were Russian nukes. It just so happened that they were left in the territory. But part of the non-proliferation agreement, they took them, they gave them away. Now people talking about, oh, well, they shouldn't give away the nukes. But hold on a minute. You just said there's a treaty whereby we're supposed to be dismantling this thing. So what are you talking about? You know what I mean? So all of this is, again, gas. You know what I mean? But they're going to use these words and these stories. They're going to make up a new history to try and fool people to say, oh, well, you know, the Russians are bad. No, they told you. Back in 1989, they literally told Gorbachev, and you can look up the videos where he said, listen, we're not playing this game with you lot. You know what I mean? You made a deal, we've arranged, we've signed, whatever, don't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah?
Keep
And
NATO out of my backyard.
That's it. Yeah.
Right?
Now
And
we can go back to the Cuban Missile Crisis. It's the same thing because what the US done was they stationed nukes in Italy. Yeah. So Russia turned around and stationed nukes in Cuba, and the US went mad. Yeah. It's the same play again. Yeah. Anyway, that's a little bit of you know,
history.
Color.
That's right. If you don't know your history, so see, a lot of people don't understand the history or not looking into it. If you don't know the history, you can't understand why things are happening now. Things that are happening now are happening because years ago, there was a situation and somebody back then said, hang on a minute. And so, yeah, Crimea, Russia believes it's theirs and they're in there to take it.
If the Americans really wanted Russia to get hurt, they would have given the Ukrainians the support that they could have given them a long time ago. Yeah.
Well, they've taken that away now.
They weren't, listen, Joe, they weren't giving them half the stuff they could have, yeah?
No.
Yeah, remember the First Century War, you know, just the other day, the Russians launched 800 drone attacks in one day, yeah? But don't you think America's got their own version of that and can shoot them down? But they won't give the technology, and they've been fighting and struggling, yeah? As Mark said, the Americans, NATO, they have said, Ukraine, we're going to have your back, yeah? Give up your weapons, we got you, yeah? We've got you, yeah? But the thing is, Russia do have a lot of nuclear. They got 6,500 nuclear weapons, I believe.
Yeah, but it's not even about the that's what they told you about. Come on now.
Nah, man, all the nuclear weapons. Well, if it's public knowledge that there's 6,500, that means there's 8,000 then.
Right, you know, that's what they've told you about. But so these issues are nothing to do with us. Big up Mandy in the building. She says Grenada would never drop Cuba. And that's the thing. All these things are historical events which people are living through now. The Ukrainians displaced from their country. But again, you know, black people would be displaced from Mali. So until these bigwigs or until the independent individual people start to understand what's happening, then they can vote properly. Because half the time people are voting, they don't know what they're voting for. And then things can really change. But, you know, you talk about Trump, the guy's in there lying. And the first thing he gets rid of is diversity. The diversity things that were in place to help black people vote for him. Hispanic people, all the rest of it, vote for him. The first thing he gets rid of is diversity.
Can I make this
with inclusivity?
Yeah.
And done with that. God.
Can I make this one little point? My thing is this. anything Europeans give and can take away ain't worth toffee. Yeah, it's not worth toffee. We can sing the song about diversity, and I agree. Yeah, because we know what we're talking about when we say this inclusion and them kind of things, the equity. Yeah, but if Europeans are going to give you something, anything, and take it away with the next hand, it wasn't worth it in the first place.
You know, and that's the thing, you know, the conversation, it has to be a growing conversation because this is what they do. They give you, make you think everything's all right. And so now you haven't put your own things in place. And then they take away. And when they take away, because you haven't got your own things in place, where are you now? You're toast. You're toast. I see that the clock is ticking. It's quite amazing. Shamps and Giggles can be found. You can find us on YouTube. Shampsandgiggles.co.uk. That's the website. Please follow when you go there. Fill in the box, subscribe, get updates to all information and so on. Mark the date, by the way, July 19th is the family day coach trip to the seaside. Just going to be an absolutely amazing event. Our time is more or less up. So to our radio listeners, I am saying good night, good evening, good day. We're gonna holler at you another time. We'll be back with more. Don't worry, the things, boy, there's too much to talk. We can't even get it all in. We're gonna love you, leave you. Thank you very much. Recording stops now, but as for us, time continues on.